Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jennifer. Today we're talking about my February wrap-up, and this month was like kind of an interesting one. I read 4 books, which isn't bad for me because I was going from like reading maybe an average of 3 a month, and I've been reading, like last month was 6 books, this one is 4 books, and this one had bigger books I think compared to last month, so I feel like that evens out. Still been reading a lot, and I read 2 physical books, one from my Kindle, an ebook, and 1 audiobook. And this is the first audiobook I've ever really listened to all the way. So I have 3 that's on Audible because I had free for a few months. So I downloaded as much as I can before it canceled. The first book I read was The Dream Daughter. And this one was by Diane Chamberlain, and it's like, it's a fiction. I guess you can say kind of fantasy-like in a way because there's time travel, but I feel like that's not too much fantasy or science fiction or whatever, because I feel like that could happen. I don't know. But it's about this lady who is pregnant with her dead husband who died in Vietnam, because it takes place around that time. And she finds out that it has a heart defect, and then somebody that she knows, be careful, okay? And someone she knows actually comes forward after all this stuff going on, since they can't help the baby at all. He's just like, hey, I'm from the future. They have better medicine there that can save your baby, and I can send you there. And she's like, you're freaking crazy. But anyways, so that's what happens. She ends up going to the future, but there's so many things going on. The year she has to go to, and things kind of get jumbled up a little bit, and it's so like heartbreaking, and there's some funny moments of course too, and some it's fun because of the elements, but it's definitely dramatic and heartwarming as well. So I highly suggest reading it. I gave it a 5 out of 5. I think it might be my favorite so far this year that I think about. I think it just hit me a little bit more because I do have a daughter, and I don't know what I would do in the situation that she was in. Claire, you making all the noise, baby. The second book that I read was The Lilac Girls, and this was for a book club with these ladies in my community. I got invited to started this month, and this is a historical fiction. There is actually a lot of truth to it. It's based on a true story. I would want to say inspired by, because they added some characters to these, I think just to add in, I think they were based on certain characters, but she added her own dialogue to all these characters, and the main one it's based off of is Caroline Faraday. And so that one it's really based off of, but there's elements in here that we found out that we talked about in the book club that were actually made up in her story just to make things more dramatic. You know how things are. When Hollywood makes movies about true stories, things are definitely dramatized as well. So it's like same with this book. It's a 4.5 out of 5 just because I think all around it was good. During World War II, 3 different perspectives. One is an actual Nazi, and one is in the concentration camp, a Polish lady, and one is from New York who helps with the French, and then ends up helping women who went through certain things in the concentration camps. And the perspective of the German one, I don't know if it was made to make us feel like sympathy towards her, which I didn't, because the whole book, she has no remorse for really anything she did, and she believes everything. I mean, they were brainwashed, so in a way you kind of feel bad for them because they were brainwashed and believed their country. But all the things she did, they had to, or else they would die. But anyways, it kind of just messed with me the wrong way when it came to that character. I was kind of like, I don't really care about you. I don't feel sorry for you or anything like that. So I enjoyed this, and it was a good book club discussion. I had questions in the back. The next one I read was actually the audiobook, and it was a lot of January and some February to finish it, and it was the Matthew McConaughey book. and listening to it on audio. Oh, Claire. Audiobook was awesome because it was his voice. He was telling his own story, and it just made things so much better. I listened to it on regular speed just because I feel like if I fast forward it, I wouldn't get the full on depth of when he was talking. You know how like now I haven't starting on another audiobook and I'm going a little bit quicker. With Matthew McConaughey, I wanted to listen on regular speed, so it probably took a little longer. Also, she's been knowing that I can play kid music on Spotify in the car, so that's been making me not be able to listen to it as much. So it's kind of hard to try to find time to finish it. It takes like probably it's gonna take a few months to finish this next audiobook. Anyways, I gave that one a 5 out of 5 because anything that's nonfiction and or like a autobiography type thing, I feel like who are we to judge their life story? But of course, if it's written in a weird way, then that would make it go to like 3 or 4 stars or whatever. But I feel like with his story and his narration and just all these funny things that happen in his life, and there were things here and there where I'm like, oh, I didn't need to be I didn't think it needed to be in the story, but he probably thought it really needed to be. But I gave it a 5 out of 5 because it was just very entertaining, and I suggest you guys listen to it. If not, read it, because I know he had pictures in there as he was talking, because he'd be like, see right here, this is my mother, or this is my brother and stuff, and I didn't get to see the pictures. So depends on if you're more visual. The last book I read for February was Foundry Side, and this one was the most fun fantasy I think that I've read out of all the fantasies, just because, I mean, I don't know about ever or anything like that, of course, but I mean like recently since I've been getting back into it. Like Poppy Moore is more like serious kind of elements, and so it was more dramatic and like really great. It's a really great world and stuff, but it's more like dramatic, not on like the fun side. This was just fun all around, and of course there's still some drama and stuff in there, but it's just fun all around. And then, you know, whereas Scythe is fun, it's just a weird type of element to that one. And so I've been, you know, I'm so happy to be back into reading fantasy, and this world is so much fun, and I really can't wait to read the second one. And so I feel like it did take, I gave this one a 5 out of 5 as well. So I had a pretty good month, but my lowest was probably the 4.5 for the Lilac Girls, and the rest were like 5 out of 5s for me, just because I had great time reading them and listening to them. And, oh, I got the Baby Yoda helmet. Oh, you want mommy to wear it? Okay. Oh my gosh. You're ridiculous. You're making mommy wear this. Times in there where it was so confusing, because when you're in a new fantasy world, it's kind of hard to understand what's going on when there's all these new terms and everything. So a lot of them mixed together, and then eventually kind of made sense towards the end. And so I feel like reading the second book, unless there's like a bunch of new elements thrown at you, I feel like I'll be more comfortable to like kind of understand. So we will see, and hopefully they kind of go back into them just in case I do forget by the time I read the second one. And so, you know, especially not being too much of a huge fantasy reader lately, I feel like somebody who's a high fantasy reader, they would catch on to this real quick because they know about everything. And whereas, you know, me trying to get back into reading all this stuff, it kind of took a little bit. But yeah, I highly suggest reading all of these depending on what you want. There's fantasy, there's like fiction, there is historical fiction, there's autobiography. I had a pretty good month this month, and I appreciate you guys watching and taking the time to watch my videos, and I hope you enjoy it. And let me know if you read these, what you read in February, and if you plan on wanting to read these, if I made you want to read them, who knows. Anyways, thank you again for watching. See you later.